Well, hello everyone, Dan Hurd with Dan Hurd Prospecting here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I hope during your subscription today. I am here today at a new prospect of ours. I'm gonna keep the name kind of secret. If you do recognize it, please don't post it in the comments. For now, we're keeping it kind of secretive where we're at. But today, I've got a couple of buddies here. We're gonna do some prospecting around our new claim and see what we have. As you can see, there was something here in the past. For sure. So wish us luck, and I hope you enjoy. Old mine sites are awesome. Yes, it is a bit of an environmental nightmare up here with the mess that was left behind, but it is great checking these old places out. There's a bit of a story here with this of what this claim is, what's called a crown grant here, what we have access to, how big our claim is. As I go through this video, I'll explain all of that. To start with, I'm just going to show you around the old mine site here a little bit, and then we're going to get at it and see what we can find for samples and see if there's anything viable here for us in the future. So joining me here today is my buddy Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
And we also have Matt coming up the hill here. And we were supposed to have Sibo today, but you know, lame Sibo needed his beauty sleep this morning. Definitely needs that. And he unfortunately could not make it and join us today. But there's four of us that own this property here, and we're going in as a partnership to see what we can do with it. And Mike is going for an adventure at the moment.
I'm not joining.
I'm not joining either. It's not that it's dangerous in any way, it's just that it stinks down there.
It does.
It's awful.
And not because Mike's down there, but because...
Or are you trying to say that Mike stinks too?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Now can he get out again? That's the question.
I wonder that all the time.
Now, I'm usually pretty open about talking about where my locations are, but in this situation, we're actually keeping this one... We're just not verbalizing what the name of the mine is or where we're at, because all around us right now, everything you see, the old mine site, is what's known as a crown grant. Now, a crown grant is a very, very old way of claiming a chunk of land for mineral prospecting, for making a mine. It goes back hundreds of years, well, probably 150 years. And in our new system, we don't use the crown grants anymore, but any of the crown grants that were issued hundreds of years ago that are still active still have rights to the land. So anything you see around me that's on the crown grant, we actually don't have as part of our parcel. What we own is everything around the crown grant for a fairly good ways. So we're just looking around here to get an idea of what they were mining back in the day, and then we're gonna move off outside of the crown grant to our claim and see what we can find that might be similar on our claim. You can definitely see the iron pyrrhotite and the chalcopyrite mixing together in these rocks. So now the main feature of this mine here, we're gonna stay behind the barbed wire, but is the main pit here. Now this glory hole, they had a whole bunch of underground workings, and we actually have complete maps of the underground workings, but they found a rich spot in the vein when they were working underground, and they just dug straight up through that, right to the surface, and this was a very rich spot. They took all this material here, crushed it down, and there is some really good gold numbers here, as well as some other very important minerals. We've got scheelite, we've got bismuth, there's a telluride here. There's a lot of really great minerals at this site. Again, this is part of the crown grant. We can't touch this stuff. Well, we can't take samples and mine this, but if this same deposit pushes out off the crown grant, we could have something. And we are hoping someday to actually locate the owner of this crown grant. We've tried already, hasn't responded to us. We know the name, he just hasn't responded. But we hope to find the owner someday and see if we can get some partnership going on this site, because this just looks awesome. And probably like 20-25 years ago, there actually used to be the old mill building here, but it did burn down. This is where they were crushing the ore. They were crushing here, they were processing over there. There's actually a tailings pond down below. It wasn't that long ago, really, in geological terms and whatnot, it wasn't that long ago that this building here burnt down. And it's really interesting that when it burnt down, it left all the material that was sitting in the building just sitting on the ground here. Like someone took a sample from right there. Yeah, this is all the crush that was left in the building when they finally shut down the mine. They're loading it in from above. Some old truck. and it would go through the crusher here, crush down. You can see these footings here of the washing that they were doing. I'm not sure how they were separating the material, but they were separating it in some way on these footings here. And then over the edge, there's the nasty, nasty tailings pond. Yes, here's where they were discharging down into this low area, which is just a nasty, nasty red, orange, rusted clay material. Yeah. This place stinks. There is so much sulfur in these sulfides that is naturally oxidizing and going away that you just smell the nastiness of the sulfur. You can see these are just great big iron blocks. This is iron pyrrhotite. These would have been big boulders at one point that, left out in the oxygen, are just disintegrating because the sulfur is oxidizing, breaking down the sulfides that make up iron pyrrhotite, just leaving this rust behind. Look at these pyrites I'm pulling out of here. Some of them are, this will be the chalcopyrite. So copper sulfide is not oxidizing away, and it leaves these great little nuggets of copper pyrite. Oh, yeah, big one. Oh, it's still in the rock. Very cool. If you're not familiar, chalcopyrite is a copper sulfide. Pyrrhotite is an iron sulfide. And iron pyrite is a different form of an iron sulfide. And not that we have any here, but if you hear about galena, that's a lead silver sulfide. It's a lead sulfide that sometimes contains silver. This is all iron pyrrhotite with quartz in it. And this is exactly where the free milled gold is coming from. It samples just like this. And the old records of this place say that the gold was on the transition between the quartz and the iron. So these are the kind of rocks we're looking for. We're not going to do too much more investigation here. Pretty soon we're going to go down to our spot and see if we can find anything similar. Yeah, there'll definitely be gold here, but don't write off those other minerals. Those other minerals here are just as important these days. Scheelite, one of the tungsten ores, is actually one of our critical minerals that we're really looking for. Oh, I hope we can find this kind of stuff on our property. Oh yeah. And if you're watching this video and are the owner of this Crown Grant, which I'm sure you recognize the area, please contact us. We would love to talk to you. And as tempting as it is to take some of this stuff with us, this is a Crown Grant. This isn't ours. We don't own this stuff, unfortunately. What were you saying, Mike? You're gonna do some education?
Yeah, starting in the fall, I'm gonna go get my Bachelor's of Science in geoscience.
Excellent.
Try to get PGO status.
Perfect. Mike's gonna be our pocket geo.
Yeah. Oh.
Nice.
Contact.
Okay, we've had a good look around here. Now we just have to go a few hundred feet away to get off of the old Crown Grant and then start the hard process of actually trying to find samples in undisturbed ground. As we're on our way over to our claim there, thought I'd stop by the old town site, if you would. It's just a couple cabins here. This is where they were living when the mine was active. Love to come and do some metal detecting for artifacts up here someday. I think that's legal on a Crown Grant. So we are off the Crown Grant and onto our claims now, and we're just investigating some of this highly rusted material that's coming down the hill. The mine is up there. We're directly downhill from the mine, and we see this white powdery stuff that's obviously been piled on the surface here. We're thinking that's probably lye that was put down here to neutralize any acid runoff that came from the mine. And we think the red stuff on top is probably the runoff that's bringing the iron laden liquids down, penetrating into the lye, neutralizing, and the white stuff below is just where the liquids haven't gone far enough through. That's our thought, but we're not sure. Mike just took a sample of the stuff, and we're gonna get tested to see what this stuff is that's just sitting on the surface, because that is not natural. Even the whitest white quartz crushed down real fine would never come out this white. So we'll have to see what it is. Probably lye. Let's hope it's not some crazy arsenic or something like that. And who knows, this top material might actually have some gold content in it, and we are off the Crown Grant now. So about 15 years ago, I was up here just investigating this mine, kind of even before I was really into the mining and prospecting thing. Because I was wandering through the hills and whatnot, I came across a few of these trenches. So they're machine trenches dug down into the topsoil. They're probably looking for bedrock to see what was down on bedrock. This one here doesn't look like they pulled out any bedrock at all, so I'm not sure if they got down. But there's definitely a trench here. You see more up there? So there's more trenching up there. Hopefully, one of these trenches, they expose bedrock enough that we can get some samples from. Here's a bigger one. Still don't see any evidence of bedrock. But yeah, there's trenches everywhere up here. Oh, hey, there's a shack. Yep. I don't remember seeing that when I was here before. It must be new.
Relatively new.
Okay, we got pits, trenches everywhere. Okay, there's a lot of work of some sort done up here. I want to see rust. Rust is a great first indication that you're onto something that could contain gold. I've moved up to the exposed outcrop here. Really hoping to see weathered quartz. Lots of hoping going on here. Not much finding. Well, there's a pond if we ever need water. That's nice. Pump it down the draw quite easily. We could run something down there. That's a lot of water. I like being on this exposed ridge because we can see the bedrock here. Unlike where the trenches were down below. Couldn't really see what the bedrock was. Doesn't look like the trenches left anything exposed for us. Well, there's trenches everywhere. Doesn't really show us anything interesting. I think I'm gonna throw the drone up and get an aerial shot of this just straight down on it to see if there's any pattern to them or anything. Okay, so much for the drone shot. Driving out here, I put the battery in the cab of the truck to charge it, and it's still in the cab of the truck. Brilliant, Dan, brilliant. Now, one thing that we're doing lots of, Mike's up the hill doing it right now. He's mapping out those trenches, and we're checking out the maps we have on our phones and our GPSs to make sure that where we're digging is not on the Crown Grant, on our own claim, and getting an idea of where the deposit might go. We do have lots of old data that shows different things. I'm not sure if I can get it on the camera through the phone, but like there's a magnetic anomaly over here that we'll have to go investigate. The trenching that we are currently on is right down here, just off of the Crown Grant. Yeah, we will be doing lots of this kind of mapping along the way, and we've got some samples going on already. If we get enough samples that we like, we will send them off for an assay. Right now we've only got a few samples that are so-so samples, so those we won't send off unless they're going with a whole bunch that we like. But right now I hear Mike up the hill. I heard him hammering rocks a bit earlier, so hopefully he's getting something up there. So the next thing that we're investigating, we've come down the hill. The mine is just up over that ridge, and the Crown Grant stops basically at the top of the ridge. So we're out onto our claim now. And this road that comes down below the mine, at intervals, the gravels that make up the road start getting littered in quartz. So you can see the quartz that's sitting here. And we get this quartz in certain spots along the road. Now, it's possible that some ore truck back in the day just spilt some crushed quartz here, but it's also possible that the ore body that makes up the mine millions of years ago eroded away a little bit and gravitationally flowed, or, talus, the rock fell downhill and came straight downhill from the mine, leaving the material making up the gravels that make up the ground. Now, if that's the case, the sulfides would all have long since rotted away. They would have gone away. The quartz stays behind because it's very, very, very stable. And the gold, which is also very, very, very stable, could just be sitting here in the gravels. That is a possibility. And that's what we want to try to investigate a little bit. Yeah, we noticed there's a little trench right there. Someone else may have had the same idea. So just following the road down, checking out the sides, and I'm seeing more and more eroding out of the sides of the road rather than down in the bottom of the road, which is definitely telling that this material could possibly be going out into the forest. And if that's the case, we could have gold just sitting here on the ground. We really need to find out if this quartz is just something that fell off some old ore truck onto the road, or if it's the natural stuff in the environment that's weathered away from basically uphill that way. And there seems to be a bit of a trough here, so if anything came down the hill, could have easily flowed out this way. And when I say flowed, I'm talking sort of like slowly as gravels fall down the hill, and could be leaving this quartz just sitting here. I've seen it going all the way out. It's possible it's still dropped, but really we need to dig a pit over there and find out. I don't see any evidence of drilling down here. I don't see anything in the old records of drilling. So no, not that I know of.
I want to check out the soil sample grids and then maybe come back and see if like down here can do a soil sampling program, a grid or two.
I was just saying we need to find a tree that's fallen, because that will actually dig a hole for us. And hey, look, a tree has fallen. So this is going to tell us if there's quartz down there or not. I don't see any. Oh, my theory ruined. So it's quite possible the stuff on the road was just dropped, crushed from some sort of ore cart or something that was coming down the hill. Because if it was in this soil, we would see it here. We would see quartz. Well, it was a good theory. Yep, here's a perfect indication that my theory is bad. There's quartz everywhere on the road. Everywhere on the road. Like, just look at that, it's just white in quartz. And right beside the road, there's a tree that fell. Pulled up great big tree ball, not a speck of quartz. So that stuff there was probably on a truck on the way down the hill, just falling over the edge or something. Or that they were actually spreading it on the road for traction. That is too bad. That is too bad. That was going to be a great way of collecting old gold, if that was true, that we're just straight downhill from the eroded out ore body and it was just sitting on the ground here. Anyhow, there's a magnetic anomaly in the old reports over that way somewhere. Let's go check it out. Okay, now we're talking. First evidence downhill from the mine of rusted material, which is what this mine is going to look like downhill from it. And this could be the path. Look at that. This is the material. This is the rust. Now we just need to find the path up to the mine and find out where the Crown Grant boundary is. Rusted gravels. That's what you get from decomposing sulfides. Liking it. Liking. And here's more of it. Another tree came over, pulled up the rusty material. I see it on the hillside here. Here's rust coming down the hill, flowing down the hill. More of it right there. Let's check the map and see how close to the Crown Grant we are. Okay, I've crossed back onto the Crown Grant, so let's take some steps away until I'm back off of it again. So here we are, just at the corner of the Crown Grant, so we're off it now. And there's that material. This is what's flowing downhill from the mine. If we can trace this and map it out, this is where any old material could be sitting. It might be way down on bedrock, but this is where old material would be sitting. This is crush. This is straight crush from the crushers coming down here. This needs to be panned, guys. Yeah. Like a full bucket of this stuff panned. That's crush, and this is unoxidized crush. Yeah, where it's not red anymore.
So it's like stops when they stop the mill.
Yeah, flows after flows after flows.
They'll hit different material. Let me get you down a bit.
This is kind of exactly what I was looking for, guys. Although this is from the mine. This is tailings from the mine that's oxidizing out. I want to find the stuff that came down here before the mine was inactive.
Bedrock outcropping over there too.
Okay.
So that's something else we can check out.
How many samples is this now?
4.
Into the browns.
It gives me a good statement going down 10 inches into the foot. Yeah, just that last piece.
You're gonna fill that thing right to the top now, aren't you?
Yeah, it's super heavy for.
This is Matt that's doing this one? Yep. Oh, good, good. You know they make tools that are a little bit easier for digging. So we're at the old rabbit pond. I think that's a rabbit. Someone tried driving that up here years and years ago, and that's where it died and stayed. Matt's gonna pan out some of this stuff here and see if it's showing any gold. One interesting thing about high sulfide hard rock gold like this is if you don't grind it or crush it fine enough, it doesn't liberate its gold. But when you leave it sit on the surface for 100 years, Mother Nature erodes away all the sulfides, oxidizes them, and the gold just drops right out. So what we were chasing down the hill was the old tailings. That's where they were discharging from their sluice or whatever it was that they were using to recover the gold. They were discharging over the hill, and what we just dug was all of their discharge material. Now, if we're lucky, the material was not liberating the gold, the crush was not liberating the gold enough, and what flowed down the hill still carried gold with it. Because it's now oxidized, we're hoping that we're gonna see some of it in that pan. If we do, it's gonna be unbelievably fine stuff, because this is the finest of the fine crush that would have flowed down all this way.
I don't know what's more rusty, this gravel or the car?
The gravel, I'll tell you right now. He's not looking all that positive at the moment. I'll show you what he found in just a sec. So we're not seeing any gold in that material, which is unfortunate, but not really unexpected. We really hoped that some had weathered out there. We're not seeing anything. I'll swish it a couple more times and take a couple more shots in there in case something shows up on camera. But if it does, it means it's so small my eyes can't see it. Yeah, okay, so we got some black sands of some sort. We have some white heavies, which are probably the scheelite crushed up. And unfortunately, no yellow heavies. Keep looking. That's what prospecting's about. So it didn't show us any gold in that material we got from in there. But what it does tell us is where the directly gravitational downhill from the mine is. Now, we were only dealing with the tailings that were on the top of the topsoil there. If we took the time and effort to dig down and get underneath to see what's sitting on bedrock, what we might find there is whatever was weathered naturally away from that mine ore body a million years ago and is sitting on bedrock. So that is definitely something that we'll have to do there. It's not something we can do today, but we definitely know a spot to try that now. We're gonna go and check out that magnetic anomaly next. Whoa, 2 hours later of bushwhacking. Okay, maybe 15 minutes. We're at the edge of the magnetic anomaly. So sometime way back in history, one of the prospectors that was checking out this site here flew a instrument overhead that checked out, sort of sent signals down into the bedrock, and they reflected back and they measured them, and they could tell that something underground in this area had a bit more magneticness to it, probably like a magnetic reflection, saying that, or some conductivity or something, that said there's some sort of ore body underground over here. The odds of us seeing anything on the surface are quite remote, but the main ore body at the mine was a surface discovery. So it's possible that there's surface stuff here too. And we're right on the edge of it now. I think Matt's actually probably on it by now. Look up, look way up. Big old dead tree. So really what I hoped to find when I'm over here was either a trench or a adit or a pit or something. I do see surface disturbance. Someone's pushed some sort of machinery through here. Could be an old road, could be a shallow trench, but it's definitely ripped up a bunch of the bedrock. None of the bedrock looks impressive just from glancing at it. We found the magnetic anomaly. We're right on top of it, and let's hope as we wander around we'll see where old-time miners did a bit of work down here. Tree roots are always the best. They give you a quick snapshot of what's just under the surface. And yes, this is ripped up bedrock. So this tree was growing right on bedrock, fell over, cleared the bedrock. Now we can see exactly what the bedrock looks like. It's like an andesite or something like that. Not showing any quartz or rust, which is what we'd expect from the anomaly. Oh look, I found a creek. There's an actual creek coming down here. Nice. So we've wandered right over to the edge of the claim. Any farther, we're on the neighbor's claim, so we're not going to go any farther, but excellent bedrock exposure right there. Mike's been hammering away at something up top, so I'm not sure what that is. Nothing that indicates anything mineralized in any way. Another root ball, but not the rock we want to see. Now, magnetic anomalies don't always mean gold or ore bodies. One of the chunks of bedrock we just broke open is actually showing that it's magnetic. You got a little magnet there and it sticks to it. So that could be as this bedrock just could have enough iron in it that makes it magnetic. Even though it looked the same as the magnetic anomaly that makes up the main mine up top, it might not be an ore body at all. Hey Mikey, check this out. Quartz!
Oh, nice.
Our first piece of quartz down here. Who knows where it came from, but it's a piece of float. Break that rock. Yeah, kind of a boring quartz seam. Yeah, looks like feldspar on the surface. And I bet you if we had our acid with, if SIBO was here with his acid, I bet you this would fizz. I think this is a carbonate.
I looked at my acid before I came up too.
I forgot to ask Sibo for some more acid.
Didn't know he was the acid dealer here.
SIBO, you didn't know that? Really?
He's a bit of a deadhead. I should have known.
Haha. Found an antler. Nice thing about walking through the forest doing this, you never know what you're going to come across. Not all treasures are golden. Well, that was a day. We may not have found any great finds out there, but we had a lot of great fun and we gathered a lot of information. So we have a plan moving forward. We got a better idea of the overall claim. And yes, I sure hope we get in touch with the Crown Grant owner and we can do something with this mine. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave me that thumbs up. If I haven't earned your subscription yet, I hope I earned it today. And a big thanks to everyone for watching. Until the next one, bye.